Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Om Ganganapate Namaha 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 Om Gam Ganapate Namo Namaha Sarva Mangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते या देवी सर्वभूतेषु महाकाली रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात् ओम भगवते श्री स्वामी नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम श्री लक्ष्मी नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम श्री नर नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम श्री कृष्ण नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम श्री शिव नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम राम नारायणाय नमो नमः ओम नमो हनुमते भयभंजनाय सुखम कुरु फट स्वाहा जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपिस्त्यु लोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बलधाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत रामा श्री हनुमते नमः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः. Okay, welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the question of the Atma in relation to the additional connection with Vasana. So to continue from yesterday, the question that was asked by Muktanand Swami in the Vachanamrut Garada number 11, the question was asked about Ekantik Bhakta. So this is the question here. Hey Maharaj, Bhagwan no Ekantik Bhakta kene kahiye? How can one know who is an Ekantik Bhakta? What is Ekantik Bhakti? This is the meaning actually. The English translation is also available for us here. So you can see this in the English. A person who has, so actually Muktanand Swami asked, Maharaj, who can be called an Ekantik Bhakta of God? Shriji Maharaj replied, a person who has no vasana except that of God and who offers bhakti to God, realizing himself as Brahmarup, is called an Ekantik Bhakta. So that's translation is okay. We want to go a little bit further into it. So as I mentioned yesterday, the approach taken by Sajanand Swami is a synthetical, complementary and interconnected approach that was in his life. So whatever he's speaking here is coming from his own sadhana, his own realization, and he's encouraging us to try to develop that. So you can see the answers that are given here. It's one of the most interesting things about this Vachanamrut is that the villagers can understand who don't have much study of scriptures or anything, and those are who are big pundits in the scriptures may also have difficulty understanding. So they will find tremendous things in here also. So it is a link that Maharaj made at that time from the nearly illiterate people to the highest of the scholars. It's one heck of a way of doing this. So the true spiritual masters, or there's certain kind of masteries there to be able to do that. Anyway, the question about the vasana is the biggest one. As I mentioned yesterday, we are not interested in destroying all the vasanas. That's not the point. We want to bring them into synchronicity and into one vasana, sadvasana, that is to please God. If you destroy all the desire you have, then that is not going to help. First of all, you cannot destroy desire, because that would mean destroying the brain, and that's not what it is. It is actually transforming the function of the brain. Neurologically, neuropsychologically, the neurosynaptic connections change. So what happens here, let me explain this a little bit here. We have our brain and spinal cord, right? So the brain and spinal cord has all neural connections, nerves, different kinds of nerves are there. So there is electrochemical energy flowing through the nervous system. So if I'm moving my hands, I'm talking right now. How is that possible? So there is quite a bit of neuroscience behind it. The way the signals are transmitted from nerve to nerve. Technically it is postsynaptic potential, excitatory, inhibitory, excitation, inhibition. This is all nerve firing and rewiring. So when we use the word vasana, we are actually talking about brain function. We should be clear about this. That the brain is functioning with certain desires that we experience mentally. As I mentioned yesterday, and the time before, if I put something in my mouth to eat, like a jalebi, or I put some sweet or some whatever, I have an experience of it. This experience is due to the neurological connections within the brain, and somehow, this is the mystery, the brain creates this experience that, and we say, oh, this is sweet. Well, where is sweetness? Is it in the object? Is it in the nerves? Can you find sweetness but through a brain scan? No, you cannot find it that way. Even though there are neurological firing patterns when they're activated when you put something in your mouth, sweetness is our experience. Swa Anubhav. So that experience we're having through the senses is a wave. It is called urmi in Vedanta. Meaning it has a beginning, it has a certain stimulative state, and then it drops down. It doesn't matter what it is. I could have a can of, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, and I put it, it's really nice and cold and very nice. It's really hot outside, so I'm thirsty, and I put it in my mouth. There's a beginning, there's a climax, and there's an end. Climax in the sense there's a certain stimulation that is there. If you pay attention, we can see, oh, this is a stimulation, and then it dissipates. So vasana is seeking the repetition of that again and again and again. Now, we can distinguish it this way, that I'll make a distinction. There is a certain level of this, certain amount of it, that is actually healthy for the mind, body, etc. For example, if I say I want to eat some walnuts, let's say, some thought comes, I haven't had walnuts. Why does the mind remember that? There's a nutrient in there that the body might be needing. That's why we crave certain foods. Yes, that is true. That is very true. But we cannot say that is vasana, really. I mean, the word vasana in the Sanskrit, this is referring to a massive bondage that is occurring psychologically, internally, inside our system. And it is like a massive block. That the bhog that is there from the past, we want that bhog again and again and again. It's the wanting of it again and again. Now, again, we can distinguish it in this way. To some extent, that wanting is healthy. If we didn't want to eat food, how we will survive? If we don't want to eat different kinds of foods, how we will get the proper nutrition? If we don't give enough stimuli to our senses of different kinds in nature and different other kinds of experiences with friends and relatives and all that, how we will survive in this world? So it is not the total disconnection with experience, no. It has to do with the word viveka, to determine how much experience with what time should I have so that it doesn't bind me, but at the same time I can use that experience for my own development, and at the same time allow my own freedom to evolve. The difference between a bound experience is where the mind is getting entangled with that experience. Now, if I say, that I'm enjoying the experience, yes, there's no question that at the highest levels, as per this Vachanamrut, as we're looking here, at the highest levels that are described in Vedanta, the 3 points here, that only one desire remains, that only God remains inside the mind. Yes, that Bhagwan vina biji koi vasna na hoy. He's ekantik state, ekantik bhakta, meaning that a state of evolution comes that even when you're eating, drinking, you're doing everything. Even though you're experiencing the flavors and the tastes and the experiences of the world, the mind is constantly absorbed in God. ये बहुत अद्भुत बात है. I'll tell you very simple. I mean, good Lord, if I hold up just a walnut, I have a walnut right here actually. I don't know if you can see this. The Zoom, you cannot see it maybe. But I have it in my hand. I have a walnut in my hand. And if I put that walnut in my mouth, my mind will get absorbed in the sensation of that walnut or that raisin. If you should put one raisin in your mouth, see what happens. If you're doing Ram mantra, Ram, 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. You do that like 15, let's say 21 times. Put one raisin in your mouth and try to do the Ram mantra in your mind. See how hard it is. Just put one raisin. It sounds funny actually. But that's the secret of adding bhakti to the sense experience. See, when we are chewing food, the highest of the sages and highest saints, they will put the food in their mouth, but they will not break the connection with Bhagwan. Bhagwan के साथ जो संबंध बंधाया है, और like in Gujarati they say भगवान ની સાથે જે સંબંધ બાંધ્યો છે, like you have bound a relationship is there with God. The true ekantika bhakta, ekantik, the single pointed one who has dharma, gnan, vairagya as support. Dharma, gnan, vairagya support the unbroken connection with Paramatma. That unbroken connection is bhakti. So the true devotees do not want to forget God for 1 second even. जो इष्ट देवता हो, like भगवान राम के जो भक्त है, who are absorbed in Ram Bhagwan, they don't want to forget Bhagwan Ram for 1 second. Day and night they want to keep him in the presence. Even they're doing their jobs, whatever, they keep a small picture, some murti, something of Ram. They want to keep the connection going. Now, as we mentioned yesterday about the example of the heart surgeon, if you're going to do a surgery, you cannot be doing Ram mantra in your mind and say Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. The other doctors, the person is about to die. You better stop what you're doing and do the surgery. Otherwise, wo Ram ke paas jayega. He said you cannot do that. Do this like this. So इसमें अखंड वृत्ति कैसी होती है भगवान की निष्ठा में कि वो before the surgery he may do a prarthana. He might do 11 times Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, with bhakti bhav, feeling, with emotion that you are doing through me. May you work through me for the better. But when the time comes to do the surgery, he's got Bhagwan Ram in the mind as a faith. And now all of his attention is on doing the action properly. I have created a recording in the past called The Beauty of Action. And the beauty of action was the action is performed for its own inherent perfection without delaying happiness into the result. That is true karma yoga. And it is offered to God. So now your karma and bhakti are offered completely. So the action that is performed with so much perfection, so much clarity, because the mind is fully present in that action. And when the mind is fully present in doing the surgery, in any action we are doing, it could be walking, it could be eating, it could be doing a surgery, it could be talking to a patient, it could be, I don't know, whatever it is, fixing an engine, anything. Be present in that action completely and perform the action for its own beauty, rather than trying to be distracted by the result of the action. Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, famous verse from the Gita which we all know. It doesn't mean you're not attentive to what the aim is. You're aware of what you're trying to accomplish as the goal. But once you set the goal, your attention is on the process. Rather than getting distracted by thinking about the goal all the time. You don't just think, you just think about what you're doing now, the goal will come. The goal is going to come when the time comes. So it is the art of living in the present. Now that art of living in the present increases our awareness. And that awareness, in Gujarati that is called Janpanu, we say choiceless awareness. And in that awareness, when the action is done and other actions are being taken, the mind is not so much concentrated on a heavy type of activity, then lightly it is interacting. It is possible to have one vritti connected with Brahmachintan while you're performing actions. I'll give you an example of this. Take driving a car. You know, when we drive a car, our mind is looking in the back mirror, looking ahead, looking in the side mirrors. Plus, we're listening to music. We have some playlist going on. We're talking to somebody also. How many vrittis we have? As such, we have only one vritti. That vritti is, but we're hearing. We're also seeing something, and then we're shifting our attention. We're aware. It's awareness. Who's behind me? Who's ahead of me? How many cars are ahead of me? How much gas pedal to press? Put the cruise control on. Put the so much thing that is happening simultaneously, one after another. And in fact, many are happening simultaneously. So actually, God realization is simply one thing, and that is to add one more vritti. Just like in driving a car, we put the music on. We have to just add one more thing, and that is small but consistent connection with God. Doesn't have to be a voluminous connection. It's the steadiness and the continuity of it that is the essence of God realization, rather than the volume, rather than the quantity of it. See, for example, if I do some sadhana for 2-3 hours, and then by the time I'm done, if I feel totally exhausted and then I'm sick of doing it, I have actually damaged myself by doing that, because now I don't want to do that anymore. Never do sadhana to the point where it makes your mind so tired that you get tired of it. Very critical point to keep in mind, because then your own chitta will create a memory of that tiredness, and it will create a dislike for the sadhana. So then somebody will say, well, now wait a minute, hold on a second, I'm going to do bhakti and bhajan and all this thing, and I want to overcome vasanas and realize that I'm the Brahman and all this. Don't you have to fight with your mind? Don't you have to say that, no, you have to, sit down for this sadhana for some time? Sure, obviously. But it has to be steadily increased. Now, how to do this? I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody has never done any mantra. And let's say they say we want to do Om Namah Shivaya. So on day 1, they can have an image of Shiva or the Shivling, Ganeshji, Parvatiji, Shiv Parivar, as an example. And they sit. So on the first day, they're not going. It is not going to happen that they can chant 1008 times Shiva, Namah Shivaya. No. On the very first day, do 21 times. Namah Shivaya, 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 Namah Shivaya. That's 21 times. Okay. And then after you do that, do the namaskar, offer some prasad, and continue with your thing. Somebody who's done no sadhana in their life, start something like this. Next day, do 21 times again. But the person might say, okay, I want to increase. I want to add another 5 more times. Okay, you may add 5 more times. But if you want to set the trajectory towards Bhagwan Shiv, the way sadhana is performed is that you don't ever come down from 21. You see, you don't wake up in the morning and say, well, I'll just do 11 times, kuch karenge, thodi ghanti bajayenge, and get on with it, No. It even to do 21 times every day for 1 year, bahut badi baat hai. That builds the force inside. That at 5 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning or 21 times Namah Shivaya mantra is going to be done. Eventually, at some point, maybe 10 days later, 1 month later, 2 months later, you will say, no, I don't feel like doing this right now. But that, when you say, I don't feel like doing this right now, that is causal body, karana sharira vasana. And at that point, you have to ignore that and just get up and do the sadhana and completely ignore everything in your mind, because you have set an intention that you are not going to come down from that 21 repetition of the Namah Shivaya mantra. That is how sadhana is performed. That is how we gain control over the mind. Yes. We also gain stability over the mind. The mind becomes stable by a developed discipline. This is something which actually I have not talked about in these daily satsangs as much, but I just mention it today a little bit here. There is a difference between a developed discipline and a natural discipline. Let's say Sachin here starts chanting Namah Shivaya mantra 21 times, then increases, gets to 51 times, gets to 108 times, and then doesn't come down. And then eventually 6 months go by, year goes by, and my mind is so, it's developed, right? It's cultivated discipline. It's called cultivated discipline versus a natural discipline. These are two very different things. So I have cultivated the discipline. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock and I'm just going to do my sadhana. Is it good for me? Yes, definitely. Is it going to help my body, mind, my internal energy, my strength? Of course. If I say I'm going to do Siddha Kunjika, or I'm going to do Swaminarayan mantra, or I'm going to do the Vasudeva mantra, or Krishna mantra, or I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita every day, chapter 15, the whole chapter every day, whatever my sadhana I have decided, or my puja, whatever my regular puja, archana, jo bhi sadhana. Christianity will say we'll read some part of the New Testament every day. Whatever, Judaism will have theirs. Islam already has the 5 time namaz. Whatever the sadhana is, when we decide that we're going to do it, what does it do? It is a cultivated discipline. By the mind, for the mind, by the mind, for the body, by the mind, for the brain. And our energies begin to synchronize and they begin to get part of that discipline. Now the biggest obstacle that comes about in developing a discipline as well as maintaining a discipline, there's several obstacles in fact. One is the repetitiveness of it. Then the mind gets bored. He said, what is new in this? I'm chanting this mantra, doing this puja. I'm sick and tired of this thing. Now, people are not, even pujaris in the temple, they never say that. But at some point they feel like, what is this? What am I doing? They will not tell anybody this. I'm just telling you that's what goes on. Now, that's an obstacle actually. Same mandir, same murti, same puja, jo pujari ka jivan hota hai, it can happen like this. Then it becomes a job. Okay, the mandir is hiring me, somebody's hiring me, some people are giving donation, go to somebody's house, do some puja, do this katha, do this thing. Ye to ek job ban gaya. And they may not even want to do that, but because they don't have any choice, this is what their life is. They have to get up and do this puja, and they're sick and tired of it also sometimes. They'll never say this, but it does happen, unfortunately. It's not that you get sick and tired of it all the time, but some states of mind are like that. That's an obstacle. Very serious obstacle. And how to break through that obstacle? So Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he said in Gujarati, Mahimani khot che, meaning the glory. Iska jo mahima hai na, we have the deficiency of the glory of that puja, that archana, of that mantra. If I say that, okay, I'm doing Namah Shivaya mantra, but I don't know who is Shiva, I don't know what is the glory. It's not the number of repetitions, it is the internal love, understanding, prem, the internal wisdom that comes with that keeps the mantra sadhana alive so that it doesn't become mechanical. Any sadhana that is repetitive, any sadhana usually becomes mechanical, and once it becomes mechanical, it doesn't have the kind of impact that you want it to have. Because you, at some part of you just is tired of that. So it is not a mechanical thing. It is not even ultimately the quantity. It is the internal newness. Chadto rang in Satsang, in Swaminarayan Satsang, there is a whole thing about this question of Muktanand Swami, Muktanand Swami Maharaj said about him, Chadto Rang. Chadto Rang means ever new. There's something new that is coming up all the time in our exploration, in our path. And if that's not happening, then one is just stuck in repetition, and then one will give it up. One will not say, why am I wasting my time? This is just useless. That's what will happen. And then the person will go back into the vasanas and try to find new experiences through that. And they get tired of that also. They get crushed in that, hurt in that. Then they swing back to God. Oh my God, I have made a mistake in this. Now I have to do this now. The swinging back and forth between vasana, asadvasana and sadvasana is the central problem of most people who are on a spiritual path. That's why you don't have millions of people who are enlightened. Why is that? Why only few get to that enlightened state? Because of the swinging back and forth between asadvasana, sadvasana, and the problems that develop through a contrived type of discipline. What we really want is a natural discipline, where we wake up naturally at 4 a.m. or 4:30 with so much energy and so much in life, and you are looking forward to doing your morning bhakti and walks and all the. There's so much livelihood in that. It is a natural discipline. We want that. We want our system to move into a natural discipline and not be in a prefixed pattern that is causing resistance. Prefixed patterns that cause resistance do have meaning and purpose in the beginning stages. But eventually we have to work on the resistance that the pattern may be causing. It's not that the pattern is causing the pattern is allowing us to gain an understanding of our own internal world and the different contradictions within. If I am chanting Ram mantra, Krishna mantra, and I'm studying the Gita, the Bhagavatam, or the Ramayana, or whatever scriptures I'm studying, and when I'm doing my sadhana, so many other thoughts and other things come into play. That is Maya. Vachanamrut number 1, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, so beautiful definition. He said, Bhagwan nu dhyan karta je adu avine avran kare ne Maya kahiye. Whatever, when you are doing dhyan, meditation, bhajan, bhakti, kirtan, everything you're doing, and those things that disturb you, distract you in your connection with God, that is called Maya. See the practical definition. That is how Maya is detected. See, when we do Navaran mantra, Om Aim Reem Klim Chamundaye Viche, what does it do? It takes those distractions that are caused by Maya in the sense that caused by our causal body. And the mantra, Navaran mantra, takes those disturbances and the energy within them and sinks them back into the Atma. It's amazing. Adbhut baat hai ye. Right? So how does that happen? It happens because the mantra has its own wisdom. Namah Shivaya has its own inherent potency. So when we are planting Namah Shivaya inside our system, it is going to grow. So that is the sadhana part, that is the effort part, that is the purusharth part, purush prayatna part. That is the part of the developed discipline, the contrived discipline that is deliberately developed. Yes. And then from that deliberate development, a point comes where it flips into natural discipline. Remember I mentioned yesterday, a point comes when all the desires, they sync together and there's so much clarity because of satsanga, jnana, vairagya comes about, the righteousness comes about, that that clarity dawns sometimes. So the sadvasana begins to develop. The turn happens from asat to sadvasana. That turn happens into that ananya bhakti, ananya chintan, that the bhakta just wants to remain inside bhakti all the time. And they remain inside the bhakti while performing their duties, but they stop all of the wastage of energy that is usually being wasted in 100 ways. And the bhakta, the mumukshu, is looking for mukti, is looking to please God, and is constantly absorbed in brahmachintan, is constantly absorbed in manan chintan nididhasan, and continues the work in the sansar in a certain way, to some extent, to serve the sansar and also for livelihood. So we have to do something in the sansar for livelihood. That's getting a job or something we have to do for somebody. We get something. We get some money. From that money, what do? That is useful so that we can we can maintain the body as a sadhana, maintain our housing place and everything, so that we can realize God. It is a stepping stone to God realization. The sansar is not a place to be stuck in. It is a temporary place. It is the most foolish thing for a person to think, I'm going to stay here forever. And even more foolish than that is to think anything is mine. Nothing is mine and everything is mine. Yes, functionally we have our home, our name, our titles, because we have to stay in the realm of the sansar. From a jnana point of view, when you dive into the consciousness of the Brahman, I am the Akshara Brahma, I am everything, and no boundary is there. Everybody is mine, all beings are mine, all situations are mine, all time is mine, everything is mine. And God is mine. I am God's and God is mine. That's it. That's what it comes down to. That's what the essence of the whole Adhyatma is. Vasanas naturally dissipate because of wisdom. If Sachin has Gyan as we say in Gujarati, or Gyan in Hindi, the running after the sense objects naturally stops. The vasanas naturally stop because there is realization from the inside that what I'm looking for, that is pure, divine, divya ananda, is not possible to obtain by running after the objects of the senses or just enhancing the experience of this world. I can go in first class ticket, spend $7,000 and buy a first class ticket from British Airways or Air India or something. Let's say you have that kind of money, so you do that. Even that will become old. Then the thought will come, when will I have my own plane? Then let's say you have your own plane. And then what? You have some friends, some other people. Then you want to show others. Somebody wants to show, look, if you're sitting in the plane by yourself, you're not happy. You want to have your close friends with you. He said, if I have my close friends, then I'll be happy in this, my own private jet. Okay. So now you do that a couple of times. And then what? And then that gets old. Every experience gets old. This is the great discovery of the rishis from ancient times and up to today. If one just simply observes, probes into this, all experiences of Prakriti, as new as they are, they become old very quickly. Why does that happen? That happens because the Mahamaya is set up in such a way, her expression is such, to teach us, to guide us towards the Atma, towards the God, Bhagwan. That is why it is set up. Otherwise, if the Prakriti could provide constant joy, you are already liberated then. Then there's no issue of liberation. The concept of liberation is not even there. But Sattva Gun, Rajogun and Tamogun, the three gunas of Maya, are changing all the time. A person is shifting through them. Our bodies are changing again and again. Everything is changing. The experience of change is a doorway into the changeless. The experience of change is a way to realize the limitations of those experiences and eventually have the wisdom through satsanga and the grace of gurus that what this world provides, it is only a limited experience, and for me to run after that is a state of ajnan, of ignorance, of lack of realization. And when there is realization, the realization comes in two ways. One is that it is so clear that the experiences of Prakriti are limited. That doesn't mean one doesn't have experience of Prakriti. We may have many experiences, but the joy is not dependent on the expansion of these experiences. How interesting is that? Look at most of the people in the world. They are looking to gain certain experience, then maintain it, and then expand it. Oh, I want to have $200,000 in my bank account. Okay, fine, have it then. You should maintain, fine, no problem. But then the thing comes, okay, I must get to $1 million. Okay, fine, get to $1 million. Now get to 2 million, get to 2. Now get to 5 million, 10 million, keep going further. If somebody starts chasing that, the time in life will be gone in just trying to increase the bank account. The body will become old, body will die, and whoever that money goes to, the person will be connected through karma with that person and become a child in that person's house, or maybe a bug or some other animal or something. Whoever that money went to, the jiva will get attached to that particular person and will be connected through karma that way. And then the next life will be of that type. This is as per the wisdom of the rishis. Somebody will say, how do you know? There are actually examples. There are some quite powerful proofs of individuals who have remembered their past lives and who they were. And there's quite a bit of research done in various universities that really demonstrates that the past lives do exist. And in the Hindu scriptures, the whole theory of reincarnation is not just a theory. This is the vision of the rishis, that this is true. That's why, like Sajanand Swami, Gunatitanand Swami, and all the great sages, they have said, keep your attention on Paramatma and not on anything or anybody else, because nobody, no thing, nothing, including this body, is ours. The Atma belongs to God. That's it. It doesn't belong to anybody else, and the more it gets entangled within the realm of Prakriti, lifetime after lifetime goes, lifetime after lifetime. That's why we see in the Swarup of Shri Kalika Devi, we see the heads, the multiple heads. What is that? She's showing us that who you think you are, you don't know how many times you've been born. I can see everything who you have been and who you're yet to be. If you want to come out of all of this, that doorway is open for you. Alaukik baatein, adbhoot baatein, ye sab. What is the practicality in this? Again, the beauty of Vachanamrut number 11, Garada number 11, so clearly Maharaj has stated that when an individual has no vasana except that of Bhagwan, Jene Bhagwan vina biji koi vasna na hoy. That's a state we want to get to, that stage. Only Paramatma, bas. While performing, it is not an escapism. I also want to make that point here. Some people read something like this and say, you know what? Let's just give up everything. Sab chhod do, mandir mein raho. Forget family, forget your duties, forget job, forget everything. No. That if you are in a grahastha ashram, you have responsibility. You have to finish that. And if you didn't want to finish it, why you started it? Sometimes people come to me, and have come over the years. They don't know whether they should get married or not. They don't know if they should start a grahastha ashram. If you don't start a grahastha ashram, you better be ready to stay by yourself, and that's not an easy thing. But a grahastha ashram is not easy, and getting married is not easy, and getting divorced is not easy. The problem is not grahastha ashram or staying single or becoming a sadhu or a sannyasi or anything. The problem is in all of us. It's a causal body is the problem. It's not the ashram. It's not the ashram. And if you take that path, that I'm going to, have a householder life, you are taking that path because you want the experiences of a householder life. And you're going to get all kinds of experiences in that. It all depends on what path somebody chooses. That's the way it goes, right? If somebody goes to university and says, I want to be an engineer, then that's the life you're going to have. You're going to learn about that. It is our decision to choose the kind of experiences we have. But when Maharaj is saying that keep only one vasana, that is to please God, that to realize God, that is the evolution of a human being into such a stage, whatever the starting point may be, that it's a realization that there is nothing greater than that Paramatma, and that journey towards God, the internal journey towards Bhagavan, that is yoga. And if somebody who's awakened in that, wow, beautiful. You see, otherwise what will happen? Otherwise, the jiva will be spinning in attachments. इतना बंधन है, इसके बंधन का वर्णन, the description of bondage is unbelievable. The aham vritti, from an ant, from an insect, all the way up to Brahmaji. Brahmaji ki kya? We cannot understand Brahmaji's aham vritti. That's Ishvara. We have no authority to even talk about that. But even Brahmaji has an attachment towards the creation, because that is the form of God in that way as a Ishvara. And even that body of the Brahma, which we cannot imagine, that is in Samadhi you can see, that body also goes away. Brahma, so many Brahmas come and go. So it is a very big thing. What is Maya? What is Mahamaya? There's also something called Maya Sabalit Brahma. That from Brahmaji all the way up to Prakriti Purush, that is called Maya Sabalit Brahma. वो बहुत अलौकिक बात है. We have not even discussed any of that because it is too far beyond. Those discussions, we can talk about it. I do have studies in that, no question. But जिनकी स्थिति हो गई है ना, प्योर भक्ति में, प्योर ज्ञान, अद्भुत स्थिति, उनके लिए ये सब सब्जेक्ट है. It's like having a round table conference with... Imagine a dining table, Ramakrishna Paraman sitting, Sajanand Swami, Vivekanand Swami, Shankaracharya, Jesus Christ, Buddha. This is the round table conference, and Sachin is going to moderate the discussion, right? How blessing, what a blessing is that? All these great people are there. I said, now, and what do you think they're going to talk about? Are they going to say, well, let's watch something on Netflix, or Bollywood में क्या चल रहा है अभी? Who is the latest actor, actress? उनका क्या subject होगा? Their subject is subject in the sense, first of all, they may not even speak very much because they're all linked together. But because by looking at each other only, they just see themselves. They're in that incredible state. So it's very possible they may not talk at all. Then Sachin will be saying, okay, please say something. So we can try that. इसमें क्या है, दो ही ऐसी सिचुएशन में जो people don't talk. तो जो व्यक्ति टोटल अज्ञान में है वो कुछ नहीं बोलते, और जो महाज्ञानी है वो कुछ नहीं बोलते. Everybody else is talking endlessly without any end. इसका कोई अंत ही नहीं है. So it's just imagine this, that they're sitting together. Ramakrishna Paramans, Aurobindo, Sajanand Swami, Buddha, Jesus, the great Sufi saints, highest level, Kabirji, Mirabai, they're all sitting, 50 of them, Amazing saints are sitting together. उनके दर्शन से ही हमारा कल्याण हो जाएगा. They don't have to say anything. But there are highly esoteric topics like Videhi Mukti, Jivan Mukti, Maya Sabalit Brahma. ये सब अलौकिक बात है, सब अद्भुत बात है. मुक्तों का जो भेद है, like Gopalanand Swami, Gunajitanand Swami talked about these things. ये जो सब subject hai. These are people who are in the enlightened state already. Is think of it this way. You have PhDs in physics, that had just graduated. 25 people from a university have gotten a PhD in physics. Now, what are they going to talk to each other about? Further higher level physics is what they're not going to open up a elementary school book on physics or Newtonian physics. They have gone, their subject are going to be what? At that highest levels of the theories and things which general public cannot even possibly imagine. It's like that in Adhyatma may be a baat hai. Scriptures like Vivek Chudamani at their highest levels, Vedras, Vachanamrut. Again, these scriptures have relative and the highest. But there's something called Ribu Gita, which I came across recently that Ramana Maharishi used to read quite a bit. And that is a teaching from Shiva on this Mukta state. Many of the Upanishads, the ideas that are here, they could be understood by the common man, the common person, sure. But in reality, there are stages of enlightenment. Even within enlightenment, there are stages. It's not like enlightenment is one fixed thing. There are even further stages within that also. It's like somebody who's got Nobel Prize in physics. Does that mean that he understood physics completely? No, it's not like that. There's even further development in that. So even those who are liberated from the sansar, they still have to develop further in that transcendental world. So, okay, that's good enough for now. If we keep talking about this, we will all reach samadhi and never come out of it. So let's stop here.